in here. We got 2 items. This is early in the morning. Mail delivered this. Let's see what all we got. Alright. This, as you see, they're magnets. These are a product that I'm trying out. I'm going to test for the manufacturer, and I'll probably start carrying them if they're good. You've all probably seen the magnets that you can attach your gun to something with. Well, that's what these are, but they're a little different. Instead of having 1 magnet, they have 3 magnets, 3 magnet center points on them, so the gun will not spin on a center axis, and they're rubber coated. They've actually got a rubber coating, and one of these is stronger than the other. There's 2 different grades, and so I'm going to be testing these out, and I'll be offering them as a product pretty soon. Now, let's see. For this next part here, if I can figure out how to get into the box, I will pick it up and show you here. Let's see. This is not the entire order, but it's a good one for you guys to know about. I've got, finally, start getting some AR magazines in. These are the Lancer brand magazines. And so, if anybody needs some magazines, and I've run these Lancer magazines. They're good magazines. I've not had any problems. These do have metal feed lips, which is, you know, that's a big concern for a lot of people, which, I mean, unless you're, you know, in Hindu Kush fighting or you're competing, I don't really see that it's going to make a big difference, but either way, I got a bunch of AR magazines, 30 round Lancer mags in stock, so if anybody needs them, I've got those in stock. I've got improved mil-spec trigger kits in stock, and just a few other things that I've got multiples in stock, so give me a call or drop me an email if you're looking for any of that stuff. Thanks. Good one. It's going to be a good one. Good unboxing. This one came in today, and I had to just let it sit and wait all day long while I did other things. I could have gone ahead and opened it, but I decided to wait, because if I would have gone ahead and opened it, I wouldn't have been able to film it. So, let's see what we've got here. We'll move this down here. Get a couple things cleared off of here. And let's see. Aha! My Lee melting pot. This is my Lyman trimming. It's a pilot for my trimmer, for case trimmer, and that's so I can do 30 caliber case trimming. And what's this? It is a crimp die for a 300 blackout. Oh, and what's this? It is the reloading die set for a 300 blackout. Let's see. Here is a Mo Plus grip. Now I'm going to get into all this stuff. Try to get it all out. Here is a Burris AR PEPR mount. This is this is a cantilever mount for an AR, and I'll go into the advantages of that over normal scope rings here in a moment as well. And last but not least, this is Redfield's. This is, as far as I know, the first in their line of tactical stuff. They're just now starting to release some red dot stuff, which their red dots are really, really nice. From what I've seen, I love their scopes. This is their new Battlezone, is what they're calling it, and this thing is badass. And like I say, it's no Night Force, but the glass is pretty much Leupold glass, or it's of Leupold quality. Leupold owns Redfield. And in every Redfield scope that I've ever used, which has been a number of them, even the older stuff, the optical clarity rivaled anything I've looked through that was under $1,000. And you know, these scopes range in price from $150 to $275. I mean, you can't beat them. This one, the features on it are phenomenal. I'll go over it here in a minute, and I'll talk about this when I talk about this and explain the reasons why you want to run a cantilever scope mount on an AR. And so anyways, I'll go ahead, and while I'm standing here, I'm going to unbox my Pro Melter. That's something that I've been eyeballing, been wanting to get into, and I decided not to because I bought that little bitty warmer that I was using to do some niter bluing in. And by having that, it kind of, you know, it kept me. I was like, well, I got this. Well, so it took a shit on me, and let me clarify, it did not literally take a shit on me. It stopped working. And so I decided I would go ahead and step up to the plate and get a new warmer, because I wanted to be, I'm starting to get into casting, and this is going to allow me to cast properly. This is going to allow me to really do what I need to do with that. And what I did, there's a bunch of these different ones out there. Lee almost has the market cornered for reasonability. There's a few brands out there. I think it's Seiko or Seiko or something like that. That let's see, I'll tell you exactly what brand it is. It is, well, that's a Potter, my old one. But either way, there's a few high-end ones out there. But you know, RCBS. A bunch of the guys offer, you know, their melters and stuff, but really, Lyman and Lee are the two most popular, and quite honestly, it's because of price. What you get out of it, your features and everything for the price, you can't beat it. Now, some of the more expensive ones, they don't necessarily give you more features or anything. Sorry, it's been a long day. But what you do get in some of those other ones is you can pretty much expect that they're going to last longer. The elements, your different components and stuff are just going to last longer. Now, what offsets that for me is, with this, I can buy just the individual element for pennies on the dollar. So if and when the element ever goes out, thermostat, any of this stuff ever goes out in here, I can buy those individual parts dirt cheap to replace it. And so that, to me, it mitigates the need for paying twice as much for something that really doesn't give me anymore. And this is the Pro 420. I didn't name it. It's Pro 420. It's made by Lee Precision, and what drew me to this one was, first of all, it's a bottom pour, which means that whenever you pour, you lift this and it lets your stream of lead or whatever it is, if you're casting, let your stream of lead come out the bottom. Something that, oh damn, excuse me, keeps hitting me. Something that was very important to me that drew me to this one, because Lee makes a few different offerings. This one has active thermal control on it, in the sense that I set it how I want it, and it monitors that temperature in here and keeps it at that temperature. And so that's a really, really good thing, good feature on this. And you know, some of them, they go that you've got a rheostat that you can adjust how much power you're giving it, but it doesn't monitor its own internal temperature. And that was real important for me, especially doing the niter bluing and stuff like that. So anyways, this is it, and what I'll do here, this is just your weight here, and I'm just going to thread that sucker on real quick. That weight keeps this down in the closed position, and I'll go through this stuff here, get you guys a little closer, and then we'll start looking over some of the individual stuff. Now on this Lee, right down there, that's what you're looking at. And this is a 110 unit. They make it in a 220. This is set up to where you can put your your molds. They will sit on that, and so you always have repeatability, pushing it back up here where you can pour out of the bottom there. There's your controls, and pretty nice little setup. That unit there is, if I remember, it's well under $100 for that. So if anyone's interested, let me know. This is the Magpul Mo grip, or the Plus grip. And this is probably going to go on my Stag 3G. And well, I'll let you guys take a look at it here. You may not be able to pick up on camera what is the big deal about this one. It looks like regular. Oh, shit. There I go again. What I'm curious about is how many of you all that have been watching this video have I made yawn yet? Just from watching me yawn or hearing me yawn. Chime in and let me know. Anyway, you've got your storage in the bottom just like normal, but what is unique about this Plus grip is that it's got a rubber overcoating. It's soft rubber. I don't know if you can see there, but either way, it's a soft, you know, it is rubber, like your overmolded Hogue stuff and everything. There we go. You can see that. So you can see right in here is your regular plastic, and then it's got a rubber overmold there. I really, really like the way that feels. My Stag AR has the same grip, but it's not the rubber overmold, and it just doesn't feel good on my bare hand. This thing, and it's sticky, it's tacky. I like that. Real, real happy about that. So, there's nothing wrong with the other one, but I just like this. Let's see. Our 300 blackout die set. This is nothing special. It's just going to load these babies here up. That's your decapping, and your this one's going to shape everything on the outside of your case. It's going to, once you've got a spent case, it's going to remove your primer, and it's going to put the outside shape. Damn it! There I go again. Shit. The Red Bull. It's going to put the outside shape on. This next one here is going to seat your bullet, and it also will do a little bit of a crimp. Now, I typically like to purchase a secondary, or a separate factory crimp die. And what I like to do with that is I'll back this seating die out, because how far down you have your external, your outer part, threaded down into your press, however far you have that threaded in is how, I was trying to kill a mosquito. Had the doors open today. But anyways, however far you have the outside section of the die threaded down into your press, that controls your crimp. Then right up here, this is separate from this. It threads into this, and however far up or down you have this threaded, that controls your bullet seat depth. So what I do is I back the outer part out to where it's not going to crimp, and then I run the seat depth down a little bit farther to compensate, and all I do with that step is seat the bullet. Then I move over to a third die, which is an extra step, but I believe it's worth it. Gives me a little bit more control over what's happening. And I go in with this third die, which is a crimp die, and I crimp it. And that's all this die is going to do. It's only responsible for crimping. And I don't know if you can see down in there, it's a collet. It's got 4 pedals basically, and whenever you push that up in there and you push this part right here gets pushed up, it pushes those 4 pedals together and they come up and squeeze on that bullet right here at the neck. So that's a crimp die, and that's a collet style crimp die. You've got some of your brands like Dillon that they use, instead of having your pedals that come in and actually move and squeeze, you've just got a carbide ring that you just end up pressing the bullet farther up into, and that ring has got a taper. It's a taper crimp, is what they call it. There are pros and cons to both styles. I believe that a taper crimp, and I could be wrong, someone may argue differently, but in my experience, a taper crimp yields a more accurate crimp job. The round can be more accurate using it, but the collet style, where it comes in and it grabs it like that, those are a little bit more solid of a crimp. A little bit better for military style stuff. This is our scope mount, and I'm gonna run and grab an AR from the safe, and I'll put it up here and I will show you guys the scope and the mount so you understand why I believe that this cantilever style is the only way to go for mounting a scope on an AR. Alright, here we go. We're going to talk about the burst mount and the new Redfield scope. First of all, we'll get into the Redfield scope, and before I do, I'll put in a shameless plug for my first product. Well, I guess the Sight Pusher tool was the first product I've released, but this here, this here product, good Lord, listen to me. This product is the TDC muzzle device. Or it's TDCtactical, is if you want to get specific. The TDCtactical muzzle device. If anybody is interested in this, it is threaded. It will fit an AR, your standard AR-15. It's symmetrical as far as the number of ports and everything. It does not have a top or bottom per se. This is primarily a breaching style setup with your bezel for close quarters type stuff. The idea and the thinking behind this spurred from building a pistol, and I wanted something that was going to be flamboyant, so to speak, and literally this thing is a flamethrower. Whenever you put this onto a pistol barrel, it looks like you look like Rambo's gun, like the M60 with the flame shooting everywhere. That's what this thing ends up looking like. Right now, I do not offer it in a entirely blued setup. What you see here, this blued area back here, this is actually going to be one of my next products that I'm releasing, which will be my own line of bluing salts that are a fairly low temperature bluing salts, kind of a do-it-yourself setup. And that's what this was blued with, and you can see how black it turned out, which is something I was going for. But anyways, it's the high nickel content of the steel up here does not take to bluing, and this steel does. And so it ended up allowing me to put a nice effect on this. I am working right now with different materials to get this to where I can offer an all black one, well, a blued one. If someone was dead set and they wanted one of these and they didn't want it in the high polish, I could offer it in a matte frosted look up here. I can do it in an all frosted look, and it kind of, you see the top of the bezel where the teeth are, you see that look where it's kind of just a matte gray finish. And right here in the knurled area, that's the matte gray, the non-polished. I could offer it the entire thing like that. Or if someone wanted a high temp like a Duracoat up here, I can do that. But I cannot guarantee how well it would stay. Even a high temp Duracoat or something like that, out here I couldn't guarantee how long it would last. So either way, wanted to show that off. Guys, hit me up if anybody's interested in this. It's coming in like this, under $100. Now, to the Redfield Tactical Battlezone scope. This is, I'm excited about this scope. The only thing that there was two things I wanted to see. Well, actually, I'll take it back. There were three things I wanted to see from Redfield. First of all, I would like to have seen a red dot of some type. They've got it. Next, I wanted to see a scope with some turrets on it. They've got it. Thirdly, I would like to see a scope that has a true 1 power, or 1.25, whatever they want to call it. Like my millet that's on the Stag. Basically a scope that allows you to use it as a red dot, or you can crank it up and you've got magnification, like what's used widely in 3-gun. So on this Battlezone, let's see here, we're going to open it up. Product registration card, of course. Owner's manual, all that stuff is downloadable. And we'll pull the scope out. Now, if you notice here, this is another turret. And what it has got this turret that's on here is for 223, and then it also has turrets, which is this one right here. I get the thing to stop spinning over. This turret is for your 30 caliber or your 308. Let's see, there we go. Hold that up for you to see. And you've got your points right there. Now with this Redfield, let me zoom in here. There we go. Now you can see that turret. And if you look here, the turret, they're very, it's a nice tactile feel. And you've got your marks here that let you know where you are at. In other words, if you turn this thing 3 full turns and then you come back to it later or whatever, or you shoot a little bit, you may not remember, especially if you're hunting, you get the drilling going or whatever, you're a soldier or whatever. This lets you know how far up you've come. Very nice turrets, and I like that they have different turrets set for the bullet drop of different ones. Now, one of the other things that's really nice about this, of course, you've got really good windage controls here, and 1 click is a 1/4 inch at 100 yards. Very tactile feel. This is a 3 to 9 power. 9 power to 3. And yeah, that feels nice. Real good feel to that. We'll zoom this out some here. You've got your speed focus here. Works real nicely. And then you've also, something that I really like about it, is not only do you have, see if I can get it in here, not only do you have your BDC, I mean, not only do you have your turret there where you can just dial in what you need, you've got your BDC. You've got windage and elevation holds there. I mean, that is really nice. That was on 3 power. If I run it up to 9 power, let's see what the reticle looks like in there. Get it to focus in. And there is your reticle. Sorry about the shakiness. So anyways, I'm really looking forward to running this scope. This is going on the 300 blackout. And I got to do a little bit of research. I can't tell you right now if I'm going to be using the 223 turret or if I'm going to be using the 308 turret. I think that the proper turret is going to be the 223. I think that I'm pretty sure, but I may be wrong. Of course, once I get to that point, I'll do a video on it, and by that time I'll know. Or I'm just going to be finding out as the video proceeds. So, there's that. That's the Battlezone from Redfield Tactical. Brand new out. Highly recommended. I've not even used it, but based off of the reputation of Redfield, that's all I need to say. Now, we're going to look here at this Burris mount here. This is what I'm going to be mounting the scope with, and you can see this is a very robust mount. A little heavy, being quite honest. It is a heavy mount, but it's built very sturdily. You got pros and cons there. One of the things that I prefer in a mount like this, for instead of having separate caps here, I prefer the mount to be split down the middle and you having 2 halves that go together. The mounts can be a little bit thinner and still just as strong. Whenever you have a mount like this, where you have actual caps and a base, the mount needs to be machined. It needs to be a little thicker, a little bit more robust to get the same rigidity. Just a little trade-off there. So this is a nice cantilever mount, and something that I really like And a lot of people don't realize this whenever they are originally considering doing the Burris mount here. Sorry about that. One of the things they don't realize, they'll see the Picatinny rail sections here for their caps, and they're immediately turned off. They think, I don't want that. I'm never going to be putting anything there. That is not what I want. It looks ugly. And they bypass this mount. Well, these are included with it. And these are nice, smooth, thin caps that you can replace these ugly rail sections with. The only time that I would ever possibly see that these would be handy, I see how they're used, but the way that I would only recommend as of right now, and I haven't seen anything different, I would recommend these if you were using like a laser genetics, one of the ND3 or ND5 that is like the Maglite style. I have the kind that's a quick detach, it's a rail mounted. Whereas the other ones, they use basically a scope ring that works on a Picatinny rail, and they mount real close, just in line with your scope, with your main optic. And these would come in handy for that. I've seen a number of people that will use these Picatinny rail sections up here to mount a red dot. You know, right here on the back one, they'll mount a red dot up there, like a small micro one. That is awful. That's terrible. The reason is because that puts that red dot up so high, and you're using, if you got a red dot on top of your scope, what's it there for? Let's think. It's there for close quarters action, quick close quarters action. Well, what happens as we move the center line of our optic farther away from the bore line, the center line of the bore? You get more deflection. You have a more drastic variation on your point of aim versus point of impact versus distance. So if you're dealing with your up close quarters type stuff, you don't want that. Well, I guess it doesn't matter if you're dealing with far away stuff, whatever. But you don't want that to be so high up that, you know, if you've got it zeroed for 15 feet and someone's at 25 feet, that you've got you know, a 6-inch difference in your point of impact versus point of aim. Or if they're closer, I mean, you just don't want that much variation. So you get that scope, that red dot, put it back here on an offset, or up here on an offset mount, where it's closer to the bore line. Yeah, you are going to tilt your gun just slightly, but it makes so much more sense. It's so much more practical. So I'm going to rearrange some things up here, and then I'm going to close this video out by explaining why I prefer this type of mount, the cantilever, on an AR style rifle over normal scope rings. Alright, now what I like about the cantilever style mount so much is, like, if you look over here at this AR here, first of all, what we have to be sure about whenever you are dealing with an AR style rifle, you run an optic on it, you got to make sure that it clears your charging handle. Now with an ambidextrous charging latch on there, I can come in here on this side and operate it, or with the extended latch over here, which I have both, you can operate it from the side pretty easy. But the traditional way of using it is coming right over the top. If your scope protrudes out, it's going to hamper you. Some people I've seen where they've raised the scope way up, well then you get no cheek weld. So you want to move it forward. What you want to do is, if you notice here, I've got the cantilever style here, and everything, it's mounted onto the receiver. Whereas the rail protrudes and it just continues out over the same as the receiver's rail. It's still a secondary piece. With a free float setup, you can mount an optic onto that handguard, and it will hold 0 or laser or whatever. But it'd be one thing if you were to mount your scope rings entirely out here or entirely here. But what you don't want is for, in your traditional scope setup where you have 2 separate rings for front and rear, you do not want the rear rings here and the front here. And you damn sure don't want the front here and the rear here. But the point I'm getting at is, no matter what you do, no matter how good of a rail you've got, you're still dealing with 2 separate pieces. And if you've ever watched a rifle like this, or any rifle, fire with high-speed film, this barrel and everything goes through a ripple effect and flexes, everything does. And you can damage your glass, you can cause parallax, and you can cause inaccuracies by having it on 2 different ones, or 2 different pieces. So, running a cantilever style mount allows us to, I'm just setting it on there, but it allows us to achieve everything we need. We have the proper height, we have the scope, the end of the scope in the proper place where we can still get to our charging handle, and it's all mounted on the receiver. And that is what we call ideal. That is the best way to go about it. It is a very bad idea to run separate rings, or it's not necessarily about the rings, it's just about having 2 different mounting points. And while I've seen many ARs mounted, I've even built them where you have both scope rings here, and the end of the scope was in the way a little bit. So I mean, it's doable if you just want to go shoot, but if you want to be able to run that gun and run it right, you need to have it up out of the way and run on a cantilever style setup. And I really appreciate you guys watching. I'm going to end this video here and shoot the video of me installing the scope on this 300 blackout. Thanks. I keep doing these unboxings and kind of consolidating them together. Now I started doing the unboxings because it seemed like people really liked them. I got a lot of good comments on them and everything. But I'm just curious, with me doing so many of them. I tried to consolidate them, as you noticed, but is it something you guys like? I mean, is it getting old doing the unboxings all the time? Let me know. If you're getting tired of constantly seeing unboxings, tell me, and I won't do them so often. I'll just do them for the larger, better stuff. So anyways, what this is, unbelievable. Another one of those situations where all that big box was for this. And I'll show you. These are for their tooling. It's for they're edge finders for when you machine. And I'll show you how those work here in a minute. And this is a decent little box. Nothing too special, but it's decent. Let's see here. We've got a 9mm Lee factory crimp die for a gentleman. Got a couple of AR mags, 30 rounder. Some couple of magazine releases, AR magazine releases that were on back order. Magazine button. Rifle length buffer tube. Been waiting on that for the 300 build. And I'm not going to show you what's in the box. I'm not going to show you the last thing in the box. It's something that's made of unobtainium right now. And so I'm not even going to show you what it is. We're just going to close that back up and save that for a rainy day. So anyways, knocked over my rounds here. Had a 12 gauge, a 7.6239, a 300 blackout, and a 7.6 or a 5.45 or a 2. I mean, shit, I can't even talk. A 2.23. So kind of a interesting little grouping of rounds there. That's your 7.6239, 300 blackout, and the 2.23, and the 12 gauge. Gotta love it. So anyways, the edge finders. Show you all how these edge finders work real quick. If you're not familiar with them, I'll go ahead and aim this down so we can see here. The way that these things work, this one will be the easiest to show you with. See how it is offset here? And it'll do the same thing up here. What you basically do is you chuck this up into your drill press or your mill, and you get it spinning. And when you spin it, you purposely get this thing off center to where it's wobbling down there. When you're spinning, it's wobbling. Or you have it where it is straight and it's spinning either way. But what you do is you run your while it's spinning, you got the edge of your work here. Say I want to machine this. I get the edge of that and it's spinning, spinning, spinning. Well, whenever I touch it, if it's wobbling and it's not it's wobbling as it spins, and whenever I touch that, it's going to start to straighten itself up. And whenever I get it moved over far enough that it is lined this thing back up, I know that that's my edge. Now, what I have to do though is I know what the diameter of this is. I have to take the radius of this and subtract the radius of this from whatever my measurement is. Same thing with here. I know what my radius is here, and once I get it to where it's lined up and straight, because it was wobbling and it was out around, and I'll show you on a video at some point in time, but my deal is that these really aren't going to do me much good on the drill press over there because the milling table is not very precise. But where you've got really nice and precise knobs, for lack of a better term, where you can actually use the scales on your knob to go so many thousandths, like on a mill, that's when they really come in. But I saw there was a good deal on these, so I went ahead and picked them up. Same thing with the other two. They're just tapered. They've got a finer point. So just some options. It's something that I found a good deal on them, and I went ahead and scooped them up because it's something that I'll definitely be able to use later on once I get my mill in here. If anybody happens to know, I would always entertain the possibility of coming across another mill or lathe, a small one. So if anybody happens to know someone that's got I don't care if it's a Harbor Freight mill or lathe, something that I can put in here in the shop and not take up too much room, let me know. I'd be more than happy to just take that up on someone's hands. So anyways, that's it. A couple of magazines, buffer tube, die, and just some other AR parts. So, and any of you guys, if you have not seen my the video I just put out about SOFREP and Chairborne Commandos, go and watch that video and check those guys out. They're doing good things over there. If you like special operations stuff, you like anything that has to do with Navy SEALs, Rangers, Delta Force, that type of stuff, go to those websites, take a look, listen to the podcast. You'll be very happy.